Good evening. This is Suniti Amatya, a student of Masters of Public Health. The country I have chosen for this assignment is Samoa, and I will be discussing and sharing few information on the health equity and human rights of Samoa. Samoa is a beautiful island situated in the South Pacific Ocean, south of Hawaii, with Apia as its capital. The country is administratively divided into 11 districts. It is to be believed that Polynesians had migrated from Tonga 1000 BC ago and hence settled down in the country. Therefore, the predominant populations are Samoan with 92.6%, Euronesians with 7%, and Europeans with 0.4%. The primary languages spoken are Samoan and English. The economy of the country is farming, fishing, and manufacturing auto parts. The total population of the country is 196,628, with its growth rate 0.59%, birth rate 21.29 per thousand population, infant mortality rate with 20.5 per thousand population, and life expectancy in an average is 73.21. The literacy rate is very high with 98.8%. According to the history, in 1997 only, the nation was renamed as Samoa. It has a constitutional monarchy governed under the Constitution of 1962. Rationale: the first decade after independence was only a trial phase for the country. To uplift the quality of life of the overall population, health, education, housing, social security, sanitation, and water supply were the major aspects, wherein only health, education, and water supply top listed the agendas. The country even won the title Shining Star of the international community for tremendous progress in economic and social sector in 1990s. It is considered to be a role model for the Pacific. The success and failure is balanced by uplifting social services in one hand and developing post-crisis resilience simultaneously on the other. As per the human rights, number one, establishment of a national human rights institution, which was established in 2013. The Ombudsman Act 2013 stipulates NHRI with monitoring, promoting, and protecting health rights in Samoa. It is fully functional, undertaking wide ranges of work such as inspections of places of detention, human rights training of law enforcement officials, etc. 2. Non-discrimination and gender equality. There has been an allocation of 5 seats for women in Parliament. Entitlement of 2 months maternity leave, 5 days paternity leave with pay, and 26 weeks extension without pay for female. According to the statistics, in an average, 50% of CEOs are female in government corporations. Taking an example of successful stories, in 1990, women got the right to vote for the first time, which is indeed an example of gender equality. 3. Health. Development of health facilities is a long-term continuous process, and there has been a tremendous development so far, as it primarily focuses on upgrading primary health care, health promotion, and preventive programs which are supported by the World Bank and Japan. The strong action to upgrade health facilities and its equipment in 2 main hospitals in Apia and Tuasivi is on full speed. For women, the Family Safety Act 2013 is already in motion to provide protection of women and children against domestic violence. Alcohol consumption being considered as a major cause of gender and domestic violence. Therefore, Specialist Family Violence Court has been established to deal with the issues. Also, Alcohol and Drugs Court, established in 2015, provides rehabilitation services for the offenders. There has been numerous successful awareness campaigns being held in coordination with government and local communities. Example: 16 days of activism on the elimination of violence against women. In 2010, the National Policy for Women has been endorsed, aiming increasing women's participation in public life and decision making. 5. Rights for children. Education is one of the priority for the children. Therefore, the Samoa School Fees Grant Scheme program has been introduced by the government with support of Australia and New Zealand, intending for universal free school education. Section 23 of the Education Act 2009 prohibits corporal punishment in school. The Education Act 2009 mandates school aged children to go to school instead of trading in the streets. The compulsory education sport check patrol program ensures every school going children during the early month of the year. There is a free supply of stationeries to the students. And the other example of success under the education for children is the improved quality of education. 198 students joined school as the education was free in a span of few years. Most importantly, 7.5% of the $6 million grant is allocated by the government to promote early childhood education. In terms of child labor, a protective mechanism ensured for children trading in streets by the Ministry of Women, Community and Social Development's Child Care and Protection Bill is totally ensured. 6. Right for people with disabilities. Samoa has been applauded for incorporating the disability issues into the legislations. Ministry of Women, Community and Social Developments has been identified as the focal point to resolve the disability matters, and the continuous support to acceptance of national disability policy and establishment of the National Disability Task Force Committee has been acknowledged. Specifically for the children with disabilities, an inclusive education policy 2014 has been approved, which aims to promote education for children with disabilities. In addition, the success examples are there has been a number of students with disabilities doubled to 277 in comparison to 134 in 2000. Justice. The Crime Act 2013 is set up and intact against marital rape to protect women from violence, and the Young Offenders Act 2007 has set the minimum age, that is 10 years of criminal responsibility. Poverty. The percentile of poverty and hunger has decreased from 15 to 5.5% in the span of a decade. Abolition of death penalty. In 2004, the Presidency of the European Union declared the abolition of the death penalty for enhancement of the human dignity and the progressive development of human rights. It is an important step in Samoa, resulting in a major contribution towards the universal abolition of the death penalty. Environment, which includes climate change and disaster risk reduction. There has been wonderful implementation of safeguard policies which has cut down trade-offs and in return led to the increasing number of reserve land areas, good access to technical assistance and financing for early warning system, disaster risk reduction under the global framework for climate services and disaster management. Last rights that is right to an adequate standard of living. There has been an increment in life expectancy of female as compared to men. Traditional birth attendance guideline has been developed and implemented. There is a successful rise in the total fertility rate between the year 2006 to 2011. There has been a decline in births to adolescent mothers from 2001 to 2011. These are the examples and the illustrations of successful stories, whereas on the other hand, the areas of improvement are as follows. The need of awareness is seen. In terms of health, the enormous financial pressure on the government is observed, especially towards the non-communicable health problems, which needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Equity on the minimum age of marriage for both male and female is still in plan. Review of maternity leave entitlement to 3 months with pay and 3.5 months without pay. Technical support and strengthening and supporting contingency plan, which needs to be inclusive for vulnerable people as well. Adaptation of comprehensive legal framework in relation to international standards. And vulnerable population still needs benefit from the equal enjoyment of human rights at a society level. Recommendations. Samoa should be encouraged to support the National Disability Action Task Force with adequate financial, human and technical resources in order to improve the lives of people with disabilities. Taking full ownership and management of inclusive education. Implementing laws and programs to uplift the status of human rights. Revision of the equality and non-discrimination laws to adapt to more specific legislations dealing with discrimination towards vulnerable population. Awareness and education about the role of ombudsman and health rights, capacity building and training to the public to mitigate the gaps of technical assistance. Lastly, strengthening the policies and enforcement framework. In conclusion, the recommendation produced after the first Universal Periodic Review has gradually been addressed and henceforth applauded as well. The progress milestones achieved is tremendous with measurable outcomes and a handful of examples such as establishment of the new National Health Rights Institution, signing of the CRPD. However, Samoa still welcomes offers of technical assistance in the key areas such as health, domestic violence, education, strengthening inclusive policy for people with disabilities to obtain an optimum standard of living. Thank you.